Everybody, my name is Rocco Baldassarre and today we will talk about budgets and bidding. We will actually train you on advanced techniques that will help you boost your AdWords performance. So first of all, let's start by saying that bids are usually Good morning everybody, my name is Rocco Baldassarre and today we are going to talk about budgets and bidding on Google AdWords. So first of all, let's say that in order to set up a basic bidding strategy, you will need to have a goal. And the goal can be to maximize your amount of clicks. And this can be done through automatic and manual bidding. Automatic bidding means that you give Google a budget and Google will try to use up your budget, giving you as many clicks as possible. While the moment you want a manual bidding strategy, you need to set up your bidding at an ad group, keyword or placement level and actually manage it yourself. Another goal you could have is to get a better brand image value for your business. And in order to do that, you need to apply a cost per 1,000 impressions bidding. So this means that basically you pay Google every 10,000 views of your advertisement. This technique is only used on display network and cannot be applied on the search network. And finally, you would have the cost per acquisition bidding, which basically is an advanced technique that allows you to use your historical data to actually bid per acquisition. Google will try as much as possible to basically meet your ideal cost per conversion based on the data you have collected in your account. In order to set up a cost per acquisition bidding, you will need actually to have a conversion code set up. So moving forward with our presentation, we are going to summarize what we just said in 3 key points. So basically, if you want to generate traffic for your website, you need to use the cost per click bidding. If you want to increase the brand value, you need to use the cost per 1,000 impression bidding. While if you want to basically maximize conversions, your ideal bidding strategy will be the cost per acquisition, also known as CPA bidding. So in order to set up the proper keyword bid in your account, you need to consider several factors. First of all, you need to consider that you need to rely on the conversion data of your account. So make sure to set up a conversion tracking code that properly tracks your conversions, and you will need to rely on it strictly because basically all of the optimization you can do on a bid level depends on it. And secondly, you can use the traffic estimator tool to get a first idea of your starting bid. So the traffic estimator tool gives you a sort of estimated cost per click given a daily budget and your keywords. Finally, you also need to consider the use of enhanced CPC. Enhanced CPC is a feature that basically uses your conversion data to automatically increase the bids for keywords that are likely to turn into conversion for you. So basically it is a really advanced feature that will help you boost conversions. And finally, you need also to consider that the quality score plays a big role in your bidding strategy. So you should increase the quality score of your keywords in order to reduce the cost per click. Why? It's really easy. Basically, the ad rank, the advertising rank, is what determines your advertising position. The higher your ad rank, the higher you will show up on the search page. So basically, the ad rank is calculated multiplying the quality score and your cost and your maximum bid per click. So if your quality score is higher, the bid per click to get to a given ad rank is much lower. So the higher the quality score, which could be between 1 and 10, the higher your ad rank will be, and the lower your cost per click needs to be in order to get to a given advertising position. And we will also look into the quality score more in depth into one of the following lessons, and you will actually understand the importance of this unique feature. So in order to basically continue with our presentation, we will actually need to understand that bidding strategies is really customized for every account. So basically the moment you start advertising, you don't need to just use a standard strategy, but you actually need to look in depth into all of your keywords and start by a standard ad group bid. And then from there, you always need to customize the bidding per keywords and looking at your competitors and your products. So you really need to customize your strategy to the company you're working for, that you're working with, in order to not have any problem while advertising on Google AdWords. So right now we will also start our second section of the training, and the second section will be focusing on basically how to set up a proper budget for your campaign. And in order to do that, we will also say what not to do and what are the best practices in AdWords budgeting. So, in order to set up a budget for your campaign, just keep in mind that you don't have a minimum spending. You are in control of how much you spend per day, per month, per hour. So, first of all, once you sign in your account, you need to click on the campaign tab and create a new campaign. You can set up then the campaign type you prefer between search network, display network, search and display networks. So the search and display network will basically allow you to advertise both on the search network, which is google.com, google.ca, google.it, google.co.uk, so all the actual the search engine of Google. While the display network consists of a number of websites which allow Google to show banner and text advertisement on them in exchange for a commission every click received. So basically, you can decide whether to show up on them both or just on the search and the display network. We always suggest to actually keep search and display campaigns separately in order to actually be able to optimize the performance of a campaign depending on the search and on the network type you choose. So once you are in the select campaign settings, you actually can select bidding and budget and select a budget for your campaign. So you can say $10, $20, $30 per day. However, please consider that you can also set up a shared budget, which means you have 10 campaigns, you know that you want to spend 30 per day, and you can actually tell Google, I want to spend 30 per day on these 10 campaigns. And then Google will basically serve your budget with the principle first comes, first served. So by doing that, you will actually have the flexibility of not having to split your budget among campaigns, and you can let Google do that for you. Finally, you can click save and continue, and you're ready to go. Of course, you can also modify a budget at any point in time in your campaigns by clicking on the campaign name you want to work on, and then you click on settings, and within settings you will have the option to actually change the budget. So daily budgeting works quite easy, and basically you can change it anytime, and you don't have to worry about spending more than what you are willing to pay. So on Google AdWords you can set up only daily budgeting, but you cannot actually set up a budget on a monthly base. However, Google knows that you don't want to spend more than a given amount of money per month. So if your monthly budget is 300 and you end up spending 330 because Google saw some clicking opportunities for you, Google will only bill 300 and the 30 extra will not be billed because you did not authorize for them. And finally, you also need to pay attention to how much of your daily budget is used up, because if you always use all of your daily budget, if you always deplete it, what happens is that you're missing out on really good clicks. So you need to decide whether you want to increase the budget or decrease the bid in order to get more relevant clicks for your website. You do not have to actually you do not have to bid high right away. So basically, you do not have to have a huge budget to start with, because you do not know how your campaign is going to perform. Best practices are to always start with a budget that is, let's say, conservative, and then increase it as soon as you get results. Your goal should be to have 80% of the search impression share in your niche market. So the impression share tells you that how many times out of 100 impressions you're able to show up with your advertisement. So you need to be able to show up 80 times every 100 impressions in order to say I'm doing a good job. So do not increase your budget if you're not sure that you're getting relevant and quality clicks. So you always need to make sure that you increase the budget only when you know that you're getting the best results for your advertisement. And once you're sure about that, you can actually start looking into increasing bids, increasing budget, and making sure that everything is working out fine. So right now we talked about budgeting, but the budget needs to be used up by using clicks. So you need to make sure that you have a bidding strategy within your budget that aligns with your overall strategy. So we have three kinds of bidding types, which we will all analyze right now. So the cost per click bidding basically tells Google that you're willing to pay each time your advertisement gets clicked. So you can decide to set up a manual cost per click or an automatic cost per click. As we said earlier in this presentation, the automatic cost per click basically maximizes the amount of clicks you can get within your budget, while the manual cost per click is something that you actually need to manage yourself and find the right amount that you want to bid for each keyword in order to maximize your exposure. Again, you can set up a cost per click at an ad group, keyword, or placement level. The ad group level bid is beaten by the keyword level bid, and the placement level bid wins against the keyword level bid. So it means that if you have an ad group with, for example, a $1 bid, and a keyword within this ad group has a bid of $1.50, then the $1.50 applies for these keywords regardless of the bid you have in the ad group level. So what wins is the keyword bid. While if you have a display network campaign and you have both a keyword, an ad group, and a placement level bid, Google will always consider the placement level bid while deciding which cost per click to apply to the campaign. So the placement level bid can be easily applied by going into display network tab in Google AdWords, and then once you go into your placements, you can actually manually modify the bid for your placement. And that's quite interesting because once you start getting good conversion for a placement, you can actually boost the performance only of one placement against the others. And finally, we were actually talking before about the enhanced cost per click, and now we can look more in depth into it. So the enhanced cost per click is a bidding feature that basically helps Google analyze your data, your historical data, and based on this historical data and your conversion values, Google increases automatically the bid for all auctions that might be able to get you a conversion. So this is quite interesting because it works similar to the CPA bidding, but actually it applies to an automatic or manual bidding campaign. So basically you can tell Google to increase your bid when it thinks that you can get a sale. However, nothing is guaranteed, so Google cannot guarantee a conversion, but of course their algorithm will be helpful in this case. So make sure to have conversion tracking enabled, otherwise you cannot use enhanced CPC bidding. CPA bidding is really only for display network, and not many companies are using it because it's mostly a branding strategy. So basically with CPM bidding, you can tell Google that you want to pay every thousand impression on the display network because you're interested not in getting clicks but in getting your brand known. So that's why it's called cost per thousand impression. And finally, we also need to talk about the bidding for the display network campaign. Display network is a topic on its own because it works quite differently than the search network, and that's why you need to make sure to use a different strategy. The best approach for a display network campaign is to start with an ad group bid, which is as high as you're willing to pay for a click. So basically, if you're going to tell Google I'm willing to pay $1 per click, once you get some traffic, so once you get some traction from your cost per click bidding, you can actually adjust the bid at the placement level, so it can be higher or lower than $1, and this will allow you to save or actually optimize your spending. So the click-throughout rate is really low on display network, and in order, as a rule of thumb, I would suggest to use 0.10% CTR as CTR to aim for, and the higher you can get, of course, the better it is, but do not expect really high results in terms of CTR because the CTR on the display network is naturally a low value. And again, also in the display network campaign, you can set up bids at the placement, topic, interest, and keyword level. So you can also therefore set up bids depending on the specific kind of audience you want to target. So if your audience is people that are visiting a given website, you can actually boost the bid for this website and leave all the other bids at their standard level. And finally, we would like to conclude this presentation focusing on 4 tips that no one will ever tell you, but that are actually really important in order to boost performance. So first of all, whenever you want to turn a campaign into a CPA bidding, make sure to create a copy of this campaign and run a test CPA versus not CPA campaign. This will make sure that your campaign are performing well on a CPA bidding other than on a manual or automatic bidding. So always test the two campaigns against each other. So start bidding higher to get some traction. What that means is that you need to have a higher bid at the beginning in order to get some traffic to your campaigns. Then you can lower this bid and Google will still show your advertisement even though you're bidding lower. It's a little trick that helps you to get started and get a good quality score. Finally, each keyword should have a custom bid if you're not using a CPA system or an automatic bidding, because each keyword has its own history and you need to make sure that you focus on them individually. And finally, low competition does not mean low CPC. Google has a minimum cost per click requirement for each keyword, and therefore you can also be the only person advertising for a keyword, and if Google wants you to pay $2, they're going to pay $2 per click. So competition is not an equivalent of cost per click. So thank you very much for listening today, and if you have any questions, please feel free to share them on our forum and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Bye bye.